Hello, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon, and I'm here today on this MS Dynamics World Verosoft presentation on their TAG Mobi product. We're going to look at a product deep dive implementing preventive maintenance and asset management in Microsoft Business Central. So, joining me today, Ben, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Rick. So my name is Ben Brousseau. I'm a senior enterprise asset management consultant and also a digital transformation researcher. I've been in industry for a little while now, closing in on 8 years. Started doing, nav implementation, and then got with Verosoft and started doing enterprise asset management. So it's been a great fit for me.
Okay, perfect. So let's dive into this presentation and start to get into our product. So our agenda today, we're going to talk about scalable asset management, then a little bit around TAG Mobi in Business Central. And I won't read the whole slide, but you can see we have a lot of information, including a quick demonstration on our product. So let's jump right into it.
So we'll kick things off with talking a little bit about Verosoft. Okay, so we've been part of the Microsoft ecosystem for about 25 years now. We started as a Navision implementer, and then we developed TAG, the Asset Guardian, which we're now implementing in all the continents, 150 countries, and we have about a portfolio of 30 partners that resell, refer, or even self-implement TAG for their customers. So we've been around for quite a while.
And I think, this is important information right here because, you grew up within the nav world, Business Central world. So your solution is a really tight fit. So let's get on to the next slide.
Speaking of a tight fit, Rick, we'll showcase. We'll have a deep dive today on the Asset Guardian on Tag. But while we're here, might as well talk about our other offering in our portfolio. So we have DocStash, document storage for SharePoint. We have Cyrus Forms for digital forms, Tracks, time tracking, project management, and last but not least, Wormhole for master data synchronization. And what's great with all of our offering, all of them being Business Central extension, they can also communicate with each other for a very complete integration. Example of that is if a client would have asset management requirements, but they would also manage a big portfolio or library of files, then DocStash would be a great fit, and they all speak to each other.
Okay, great. And it's great. It's always great when I'm working with an ISV that has more than one solution because that really gives you that they have an understanding of what the customer really needs and that whole process flow around their work. So let's look at the next slide.
So we just took a look at our portfolio, but today is really all about the Asset Guardian. Okay, and we're really excited to announce Tag Mobi. Okay, so Tag's been along for a long time, all the way back to I believe was what Nav 2013 R2. Okay, that's aging me a little bit. But what we've really noticed now is we needed our client needed a much deserved upgrade on the front end. Okay, so we'll talk a lot about user adoption later on, but what's new today is a new and improved front end user interface that's called Tag Mobi. Okay, it's fresh, it's modular, but most importantly, it also fuels our strategy, our growth strategy of going into AI powered training.
And I
We'll talk.
think that's very, very important going forward to really to work along with Microsoft's strategy around agents and AI within the product. So that's great to see.
So the why behind Tag Mobi, and we see this through our leads. What really drives the most the requirement from enterprise asset management is preventive maintenance. And now there's lots of preventive maintenance system out there, but what really sets us apart is we're fully embedded in Microsoft Business Central. So if there's one key takeaway out of today's presentation is really the combination of having everything in Business Central, TAG as an extension, but having a lot of user adoption and a flexible UI through Mobi, through our front ends.
And this is really important when we look at managing assets, because we're going to get more into that. But the integration with Business Central and being a real Business Central application, we've tried to use third-party apps that are connected, and there's always sort of something out of sync. So having it built right in is going to mean that your organization can really upgrade the product with Microsoft's upgrade path.
So speaking of assets, okay, uh, the three industries that we're seeing here, manufacturing, energy, and facility management, are are really the core of our client portfolio. There's other application, of course, but if we have Business Central partners tuning in today, okay, if you have clients in manufacturing, energy, or facility management, Tag will be a great fit, okay, especially if they already have Business Central. They're already halfway there when it comes to enterprise asset management. They only need Tag to fulfill in some of those gaps, especially around preventive maintenance. So just to name a few, food manufacturing, we're seeing a big area of growth at the moment, and energy as well.
And I think, if we look at this really fits private sector companies and public sector,
Yep.
because these assets are expensive and costly to maintain. So this is timely.
And this is a great segue in our next slide here, Rick. So who is Tag Mobi built for? Okay. So if we look at those check marks, okay, BC driven organization, if they rely on BC for daily operation, asset heavy teams, here we have an impressive count of assets, ranging all the way to $250,000, especially in manufacturing across multiple facilities. um, Growth focused company. So I would say an ideal lead that comes in for us already has BC, is in manufacturing, revenues scaling from 25 to 200 million, scaling fast. Why scaling fast? Because often we'll see that exact scenario where the client would have made a significant investment. Think of a new facility, a greenfield facility, or a new production line. Okay, and they want to make sure that those new investments, get a return on investment. So they would budget as well some sort of enterprise asset management system. Okay, so when I see those boxes, when I see a lead coming in this way, I know it's a sure win.
And you know what? Your first check mark there, BC driven organizations, and that's exactly who this is going to help. But I think also companies that are looking to move to BC for
100%.
the first time, and if they understand what Tag does for them, that could really mean the difference in the decision between choosing BC or another mid market ERP system. So I think this application really adds a lot of value to Business Central.
Which is exactly one of our two success stories or use case that we'll take a look a little later on, right? It's exactly that.
Okay, great.
So so why Tag Mobi? Okay, why do we even exist? Okay, there's key challenges right now in those asset intensive industries. Okay, the most searched keywords are really downtime. Okay, so we see here we have the stats: unplanned failure cost manufacturers about $50 billion a year. Some of our larger client, about an hour of downtime is costed in the millions of dollars. Okay, and um, management really has no lack of visibility. Can you imagine being like a VP of engineering and you don't know, you need to report to your boss, why did we lose $1 million, and you don't know yet. So these are the key challenges that kind of motivates enterprise asset management system. um, However, user adoption is a big deal. Okay, historically, maintenance systems have been complex. Okay, we've had poor adoption. So there's this really fuels the skilled labor shortage. Not only do we not have a lot of skilled technicians, if they're not using the tools that we put in place, you're just not getting the ROI that you need. You're not actually preventing downtime.
And we all know if you have a complex system out there, then what happens in many of these organizations is spreadsheets take over. And there's nothing harder to manage than 200 spreadsheets by 200 inspectors coming in to tell me how to maintain my equipment.
So this is where we come in. Okay, you've mentioned spreadsheet. This is great, Rick. It's we want to get rid of this. We want to assign and track tasks in real time, or we even want to automate some of those process, right? If you have a weekly visual inspection on a production line, and you don't want to add a record every week, right? You're expecting your enterprise asset management system to do that for you. So this is where we can start small, especially if it's a client that's new or graduating to BC. We'll start small and then we'll grow as their operations will grow as well.
Excellent. Good.
So I've kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier in the previous slides, but the number one barrier to EAM success at the moment is user adoption. Okay, and maintenance systems that are convoluted, and I get it. There's lots of data in asset management, but this is where we really need applications that have been designed with a design team, but at the same time that would have an engineering background. It's a tough find, right? To find someone with both design, but that can also use the wrench and repair a few assets in their lifetime. So this is really the expertise we're bringing to the table. And the very last bullet point here is the most important of all the presentation today is you can have the best intentions, you can get a team of consultants, training, have a great digital transformation project. If you don't get adoption, you're not getting ROI, you're still having downtime.
And that photograph says it all around user adoption and what that worker's looking at, because this could be on a phone, on a PC, on a tablet, right? So it has to be easy for them to use because they could be moving from three different hardware interfaces that day, all trying to do the same job.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, if we look at the screenshot here, it's an easy UX, it's clear, it's not convoluted. On the right side, we see AI support. So we have what we call Mobi Mentor embedded in the application. So if ever you're having trouble finding a menu item, you can just key in, talk to the AI, say, I need to create a work order, and then they will route you to the right page. It will explain to you what's on the page. So really moving towards that direction. That Microsoft is also moving with the agent. We're keeping up the pace, or we're even pushing them, so to speak. And this fosters a faster onboarding. There's a significant turnaround in maintenance teams. Right now technicians are a rare catch for manufacturers, so they move from organization to organization. They need to get onboarded on maintenance systems quickly.
And this is really important to the AI support within the help, because there's nothing more frustrating than when you can't find help and how to do things. So I've worked with other applications that have built-in AI support, and they make a big difference in really the time to find what I need to do, explaining it to me, and being able to consume it. So this is a really, really important feature when it comes to user adoption.
Yeah, time is the keyword. There's this concept that I talk about with client. They always tell me, Ben, we need technicians on wrench time. We don't need them on keyboard time. We need them to fix our assets. And then to go back to the photograph of the previous slide where we had the engineer with the iPad. Um, this is exactly what it is, Rick. It's the maintenance ecosystem we're trying to put in place with the combination of BC and TAG. Okay, so what we'd see here in this visual is at the head office we would have maybe a system administrator, someone in IT, or even a controller that would consume maintenance information through BC, through our TAG extension. Okay, and on our right we have our maintenance team, maybe using Mobi through a desktop in the maintenance office. And we could also have some teams that are on the field or remote. We have clients that are working in the middle of the desert and oil fields, and they would rely on the mobile app as well. So it's really that combination. It's not one or the other. It's all of the ecosystem all at once.
And this whole idea of unified data or one set of data um, is really the reason many of these companies are even moving all this technology to the cloud. Because right now, if I'm running 5 different applications and I have 5 different data sets, no matter what I try to do to report on them, that data is always going to be out of sync. So this is a huge ROI for a product like TAG.
This is just a quick snippet. We'll go through. We'll get there quickly. These are the most important functionalities that I want to quickly cover today. They're also in line with what our leads are searching on the web. So we'll just keep up the pace on those slides. I know we have about a dozen here, but we'll take a few seconds each.
Okay, great, Ben. Let's jump into it.
So this is really what makes or break an EAM system in its selection. Okay, clients want to know, do you have an asset hierarchy? We'll have a deeper dive in the demo, but what this means is clients wants the flexibility to break down their assets in component, subcomponent. So the example that we have here is, let's say, level 1 asset could be a facility itself, a building, an address, and then the level 2 could be the production lines, right? Production line 1, stamping, production line 2, packaging. And within that production line, we can have different assets. And within those assets, we could have subcomponents. So is it the conveyor belt that keeps on breaking? Is it the scanner? And having this, if you know specifically what's broken down, then raise it at the most granular level for our records. But it's possible that a machine operator doesn't know that it's engine AB that's broken, but would generally know that production line 1's not working, right? So we give that flexibility to raise to start the maintenance process at any given level.
Okay, thanks.
Work order management. Okay. So here, a seamless work order creation and dispatch. We have scheduling tools, gives visibility of which technicians the better qualified or the most available. Asset lifecycle management, we integrate with fixed asset in Business Central. Okay, so we get an end-to-end asset tracking from the acquisition to the end of life. We get the TCO, total cost of ownership of an asset, and this really helps organization make a decision. Is it worth it to invest in a new drive unit, or are we maybe better off? Is it a smarter investment to get a completely new truck, a completely new unit? Time and attendance. Some organizations that are a little more mature, let's say on a planning perspective, they also want to track resource availability. So we have a clock in, clock out type of capabilities on work order. We can also define shifts and break. So this way you can get very good utilization. Another big one, okay, if there's two key takeaways, it's this slide and the first one that was asset hierarchy, preventive and predictive maintenance. The most search keyword is downtime when people are shopping or in the market for maintenance system. And how do we address downtime? It's with preventive and predictive maintenance. Okay, the difference between these two, preventive would be your regular oil change on your car, but predictive gets into you know trying to get ahead of the curve when it comes to breakdown, whether it's with sensors or maybe just trends or data that you have. So this is very important functionality that we offer.
And I just want to stop you here, Ben, because from a customer, from a partner perspective, this is what organizations are looking for today. Whether it's my car telling me I need maintenance or my dentist texting me, right? This is what we need to kind of make sure that things don't go down, because that's when it gets costly, and that's when it starts to really interfere, especially in manufacturing, with some very busy times of the year. So I think this is sort of key, especially with partners having conversation with their customers, is saying, okay, now we have an application where we can get into preventive and predictive mode.
For field service, this one is kind of a new area of growth for us. So we also partner with manufacturers, equipment or asset manufacturers that also offers maintenance. Okay, so let's say, Rick, you own a turbine company. Okay, well, you also maybe want to service those turbines. Okay, So if you have Business Central from a work order, we could create a sales invoice. We could invoice maintenance. So very turning kind of a cost center into a revenue center. So this is very intriguing. Um, Kind of market's catching up on this opportunity, and it's a great fit with BC with the whole invoice and sales order module. GIS integration, a great fit for municipalities or utilities. Okay, if you sometimes the assets are not easy to find. Of course, if you're in a manufacturing context, you know where your assets are, but maybe your assets are on the go. So here we have an integration with the biggest GIS providers, and this way you can track work orders, track equipment in the field.
And on this, I was involved with a project a few years ago that was welding machines, right?
Yeah.
They were completely on the move, and this was key to what they were trying to do, to try to find what, we know this thing needs to be maintained, but where is it?
Yeah. Inventory and spare parts management. I won't take all the credits here. This is mainly Business Central, but we've interfaced this through Mobi. So this way you can easily search on parts, where are they located, what's our reorder point, all at the touch of a finger on an iPad. So this is great. Linear asset this is kind of the next step in GIS integration. Linear assets, think of pipelines or think of roads, right? Of course, you'll need to have a different structure. If there's a pothole, you'll need to specify a mile marker. And with linear assets, very niche industry, but there's not many offering on the market today. We're the only one that has it on Business Central. So you can just go on a map, select a road or select a line, so to speak, and then create a work order from there. Of course, we have clients, like I said a little bit earlier, they work in remote locations. Sometimes Wi-Fi is not an option for them. So we also have the Mobi app. Okay, and from there they could create work order, even with offline capabilities. So in the morning, they can sync. Once they're on a network, they can sync all of their work orders for the day, and then they can work on the app offline. And then when they're back to HQ or back to base, they can upload all of their reports. Advanced analytics, we'll see a little bit the dashboard in a demonstration, but what's important here is the built-in Power BI connectivity. We have pre-made BI templates, and then from there, your clients or partner, can change the specifications. But there's something out of the box, which was something really important for us. Okay, we deal with partners all over the world, all the continent. Okay, we have localization. Okay, so essentially, Mobi is translated in about 50 languages. Okay, but we also see that some industries have very specific terms. Okay, maybe they don't call it an asset, maybe they call it an equipment. Okay, so we enable clients and partners to, from the UI, rename any caption that they might be more meaningful for them.
Okay, excellent.
IoT, this is kind of another, to me, if there was two big area of growth, there was AI, there is also IoT, Internet of Things, real-time monitoring. We can track smart equipment. A good example would be a sensor, let's say on a refrigerator. Okay, if the temperature goes too high, it can send a text message, or it can even create a work order, right? And dispatch it to whatever technician's available. And then graduating from this Internet of Things would really be asset health. Okay, so some of our clients that have assets in the $250,000, they can't monitor what open work orders do we have, so they rely on the system to give them a health score. This asset is doing good; it's 90% healthy. Other assets, might be going down to 30%, and then from there they can take informed decision or even generate some sort of automation. It's big data at this point. You cannot have someone micromanaging each asset. You need the system to give you a bit of a tip on where to put your attention. So this is all great, all of those functionalities, but I keep hammering on driving adoption. Okay, that's the main challenge with maintenance system. They might have all the functionalities you need, but these checkboxes are the most important. Okay, intuitive UX, okay, easy to use, AI support. We talked about that, but we also have a partner enablement program. Okay, so I personally train partners, okay, not only on how to operate Mobi in our extension, but I'm also giving tips on um, how would I train a client? Or, I've seen this situation, they want to set up their asset this way. I'm like, I would recommend this. So it's a very personable program with partners. So this is great. And then of course we also offer power user training. If ever your clients would prefer working directly with us, we could also provide end user training.
Okay, we're excited now after all of that, Ben. We want to see a demo, so let's slide into our demo.
All right, before taking a deep dive into Mobi, let's just look at the workflow that we'll demonstrate today. Okay, this is really in its simplest form, but this is a corrective maintenance workflow. So we'll start things off by creating a request, then we'll approve the request. This will generate a work order, and then ultimately we'll complete the work order, and we'll add some notes, we'll add some time on the work order, we'll consume some parts, and we'll be able to see the finished work order document as well as all the generated entries inside Business Central. Here I'm into Mobi. Let's say that I am a requester or I'm a technician. I need to raise a request. Okay. First, we can have a look at our asset management page, and we see our asset structure. And we see here that I have my Gigafactory Texas, and I can break down this factory into different subsections. Okay? What I mean by that is I have a body shop line, a casting line, a general assembly line, and I could go even more granular than that if I wanted to. Okay? So let's say I go under press plant. Okay? You'll see that I'll have different system in this line, and within those systems, I could have the actual assets that we'll be maintaining. So I could just create a request from here. Okay, but let's say I don't know how to create a request. All I have to do is click on the Mobi icon at the top left. And here I'll have Mobi Mentor that gets displayed. It's our chatbot assistant, and I can click create a new chat. Here I can say I need to create a request. I'll hit enter. Here it's going to tell us, general information about where to create a request, but if I'm lazy, I can just click on the hyperlink that Mobi Mentor gave me, and this will open up a request creation form for me. And from here, we'll select our blanking system. Say here, blanking system is throwing error code 546. Let's say here I have a field that's called problem code, and I'm not too sure what it means. I can have some help from Mobi Mentor again and say, what is problem code? Here it's telling me the problem code is typically used to categorize or identify type of issues. Okay, so we can really question Mobi Mentor on any fields and what's their purpose on a page. Okay? In our case here, we'll say that this is mechanical error, and we'll hit submit. Here it's telling me that my request has been submitted successfully, and it's giving me request number 37 at the top. So what we'll do now is we'll go into Business Central, okay, and I'll refresh this page and pay attention to my active request count. Went from 22 to 23. And we'll see here that we will have request 37, blinking system is throwing error code 456. So here as a manager, okay, I could review this request, and I could put this as an approved condition, and I could create a work order at the top left. And we'll assign this to John Doe. I could have done all of that approval process in Mobi as well. Okay? Just wanted to demonstrate the duality of having both TAG Mobi and Business Central. But I would say that most of our clients would also perform the approval process and the dispatch process in Mobi. So here we created work order 41. Okay. So let's refresh this page one more time. Okay, pay attention to my backlog, my work order count here. Okay. So I have one more work order, okay, and I'm back to 22 active requests. So now let's say we go back in Mobi, and now we'll go into documents, and we'll go to work orders, and we can close Mobi Mentor for now. Sorry, here I have the view. Okay, so I had a view, I had a filter on show me all the breakdown work orders, so I just removed that filter. And now we see our work order number 41, blanking system is throwing error code. So what I can do is I can click on this work order. I'm John Doe, I'm a technician, I'm dispatched to this work order. And I'll be able to hit report maintenance at the top right. All right, so here I can input some notes as of the repairs that I've done. So here I could say replaced conveyor belt rollers. So replace conveyor belt roller and the error code is resolved. I can say that this work order is now complete. I can change the status to completed. Under my task over here, I can put the amount of time it took me. So let's say 2 hours. And under usage, I can add the different items that I've consumed. So here we can search on rollers. Here I have my conveyor belt rollers. And I can specify a location code from which I've consumed them. So let's say main and our quantity of 1. Now I'll hit submit maintenance report. So this will complete our work order and will consume our conveyor belt rollers. If we would have wanted to, we could have also had another approval process before posting everything. But here we see that it consumed or it posted everything. Posted our timesheet line of 2 hours and then posted our consumption as well. So now if we go back to BC and we refresh, pay attention to that number again. So one less release work order, one more finished work order. And you'll guess it, we'll have finished work order 732 over here. Let's navigate to the item page in Business Central. And we'll go have a look at the ledger entries for our conveyor belt rollers. We see here we have an inventory of 62. And we see that posted a negative adjustment of -1 against the document number finished work order. So in its simplest form, or in a nutshell, I think this simple workflow really demonstrate the integration between Mobi and TAG and therefore Business Central. So this is all great. You know, we've looked at a corrective maintenance workflow, but really the idea is to avoid those breakdowns, those requests, and switch into a more preventive or predictive approach. And the best way to make this switch is to implement preventive maintenance. And we'll come here. I've made a switch. We'll come here under our IoT menu. And here I'm on the device page. I'm on a given transformer. And I can see under live readings all the different readings that I can capture. I can capture the power, temperature, frequency meter, load percentage, oil temperature. So any readings that we could extract from an IoT platform or even from the sensors themselves, we could capture here. And you'll see that some of those readings have thresholds. Okay? So those thresholds comes from what we call rules. And here you'll see I have a whole range of different rules. Very easy one would be engine temperature. Now our forklift, okay? Greater than 100 goes into a yellow threshold. Greater than 110 goes into a red threshold. Okay? So the idea is we set up the integration with the device. We set up those rules, and those rules could generate alerts. Okay? You see here, those alerts are every time that we go above those thresholds. And those alerts can be used into flows. Okay? So bear with me here. Okay? If we go under transformer critical monitoring, okay? We can really build those flows that very similar to Power Apps. Okay, we can have triggers, we can have data nodes. So here, what we do is every time that we reach a critical state, okay, we'll get information on the information that triggered that threshold. Uh, we'll get information from our active technician, okay, and then we could send an SMS, okay. Or let's say if there's some sort of conditions here, okay, we could get a vendor, get vendor contact, and then create a work order for that vendor.
Okay, Ben, that was excellent. And I'm sure you'll have a lot of folks coming to you for even a more of a deep dive demo on this product because there's a lot to see. So let's jump into a use case.
Yeah, we'll welcome a deep dive demo for sure. Yeah. But speaking of use case, there's two use cases we'll cover today. The first one is tackling downtime. Uh, Once again, downtime being one of the most searched terms or problematic for maintenance planner. Okay? So the problem is they have unreliable assets. It generates downtime, significant maintenance costs, loss of revenue. Okay? So the solution with that is we need to elaborate a preventive maintenance strategy. Okay, so we'll identify key assets by priority or what's the impact, and then we'll advise on preventive maintenance that can be put in place. And then we also want to review the breakdown. So what keeps causing those downtimes or those breakdowns? The results of that, okay, is a reduced amount of unplanned downtime. Rick, I cannot promise you install Mobi and then you get no more downtime. But what the first thing we want to do is we want to have this downtime to be planned or predictable. It's say we'll have a shutdown of our production line from this time to this time. This way, production team can coordinate. It doesn't have loss of revenue. So this is really step one. Okay. And then we'll help forecast major maintenance investment. Okay, so we have lots of clients that are doing yearly shutdowns, and then they'll be able to effectively put a lot of preventive maintenance work order in there.
And on that yearly shutdown, we can start to really close in on the health of what we have and our assets, right? So I think once they get into the mode of this planning, I think they're just going to get better. And now I have a platform where I can keep fine tuning what I'm trying to do.
Exactly. This is so important, Rick. We want them to kind of graduate into sophistication from, features to features. We'll start by just, hey, now you'll have preventive maintenance work orders that comes out every Monday morning to, really thinking maybe 3 years ahead of time. What are we doing with this asset that's deteriorate, that's, having a worse and worse condition over the year.
Excellent.
So second use case, ERP right sizing. I kind of teased this use case a little earlier. Um, to me, that's kind of the opposite of the first use case, which is why I selected it. Here, we're often dealing with larger organization, okay? And the problematic is they have an end of life of the current ERP platform. We see it a lot with GP, but we also see it with larger tier one systems. Think of SAP or Maximo, okay? And the bill to migrate or upgrade is not realistic, okay? And what they see is that Business Central would fulfill most of their requirements, but the native maintenance or enterprise asset management capabilities falls short, right? Corrective maintenance, preventive maintenance. So the proposal here, the solution is to replace those tier one systems with the combo of BC and TAG. Okay. We also want to revisit existing paper-based process. And then the results of this is a successful replacement of a tier one, let's say SAP, not to name it, with BC and TAG, removal of manual data entry or NVA activities, non-value added activities. Okay? And ultimately, the benefits would be significantly lower subscription cost for the ERP system, okay? Improve visibility on maintenance spend, okay? And just the removal of those NVA's activities.
And this goes back to our earlier comments, like you said, right? I mean, Business Central without Tag isn't the same thing, right? You probably add a whole, well, you do add a whole level of different ROI to this product.
So if we keep it simple, if we wrap up this whole presentation, okay, TAG Mobi solves key pain points, okay, being user adoption. Okay? You need to have this user adoption. You need to have this flexible UI and grow with the client. You know, we're not going to get into IoT, health index, and planning 5 year down the roads when clients is scattered around with spreadsheets. It will start small, and then Mobi being modular, we can introduce sophistication as time goes on and as the client kind of reaches those building blocks. Okay. Second one, built in for Business Central, field ready. If your client already has Business Central, this is an easy fit. It's a quick win. Okay. And last but not least, being scalable, adoptable, and the AI training capabilities.
And I think this is really key to success is that they've got Business Central, or they're going to get Business Central. They're going to manage their assets within Business Central. How do I build all this functionality around it and just start to use it slowly, not
Yes.
trying to use it all at once, right? What can I do in this fiscal year to make better management of these assets? And they're just going to get better and better and improve that platform over time. Okay, so Ben, I've got a
Yeah.
couple of frequently asked questions for you. Let's talk a little bit about Business Central. And you came out of the NAV world, so we're moving all our customers to Business Central. Let's talk a little bit about the products that you support.
Yeah, so right now we're supporting, of course, Business Central Cloud, but we also support all the way back to Navision 2018. However, Mobi, the whole front end and AI capabilities would only be available starting BC 19. Okay, so
Okay.
if you have an opportunity for any reason that would want to install Tag on NAV 2018, we could do it. But just keep in mind that they would unfortunately not benefit, not yet. They'll need to go to BC to get access to Mobi.
And our second question is: we live in a global economy, so talk a little bit about your sort of partner networks and how you support international companies.
Yeah, so the development team is based out of Montreal, Canada. Okay, we have two sales rep. Some of you might know Doyle Detro, out of the U.S. Okay, out of Florida and Illinois, and we have partners all over the world. Okay, we also have partner that helps us cover support the Asian region. Okay, so if ever you would have an opportunity there, or you need, or some of your client needs 24-hour support, we can connect you to those partners to kind of have a global coverage of the world in terms of support, 24 support. So yeah, we're completely global, Rick.
Okay, and we've got a lot of partners that are going to listen to this. So I'm a partner. I'm looking at this application. I'm saying, wow, I could, show this to a lot of my customers. How do I get started, and how do I build a practice around TAG?
Yeah, absolutely. So get in contact with us. On the next slide, we'll have a QR code. Okay. We'll start with a discovery session, understand, if Tag's a good fit, what's the first starting point. And then we have a partner enablement program, okay, where we'll essentially train BC consultants on how to use Tag, a bit of a crash course on asset maintenance as well, and preventive maintenance. It's not only configuring Tag, but it's also being able to explain why it's important. And we also have a partner enablement sales kit. Okay, so I'd be working with Business Central partners and their consulting team, and then we would also have our account manager working with the partners sales team, and then we have a lot of resources. If you want to do a campaign online, we have tools, we have graphics for our partners, so it's easy to start a tag practice.
Okay, that's excellent. And you'll handhold a partner through their first implementation, or maybe their first couple of implementations?
Typically, that's what we recommend. Okay, if we feel that some partners are after a partner enablement program, if they have kind of an easier implementation from the get-go, they could do it alone. But typically, we like to do the first implementation with partners. If we have success, then we let them fly on their own. But some partners as well, we're welcoming just referrals. If you have, a manufacturing client portfolio in Business Central, and you see that they could need asset management, referrals are welcome as well, and then we can support the whole delivery of our product.
Okay, great. So let's have a look at the contact information and how people can get a hold of you.
Okay. We have the QR code over here. If not, there's partner support. But if it makes more sense, Rick, partner can just reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, and then we can schedule a call. I'll be more than happy to help. But yes, we'll want to get them in through the partner enablement funnel.
Okay. Ben, I want to thank you for this presentation today, and I'm sure our audience appreciated it. And I'm sure you're going to get a lot of folks following up with you to find out more about Verosoft and about your TAG Mobi product.
It's exciting. Thank you, Rick.
Have a great day, and bye for now.